I'm here today because I need every single one of you to know that our voices matter.
Well, that was exciting. That's Channel 10 News. Hi, everybody. How you doing? It was going. It really was. They've been having problems with their stream. Everybody has. Apparently, there's some issues with this area. There we go.
And regardless of whether the establishment is willing to publicly admit it or not, when people stand together, there's really nothing we can't do. You see it in movements all around the world, right? They've been telling us for months since this campaign started that all odds are against us. But it's not up to the pundits or the media or the DNC. It's up to us. And it is. And clearly, no amount of pressure is going to suppress our commitment to social justice, political. Tear something apart and really examine it and figure out what needs fixing so you can shift the paradigm into something that will help the greater good of the people. But we're born into a society that teaches us to be fearful. They want us to conform. But conformity did not win the Revolutionary War. Conformity did not win women the right to vote. It didn't win in the fight for civil rights, or I should say the ongoing fight for civil rights, right? And that's acknowledging the suffering that the bottom 99% goes through every single day. But right now, we have a leader who is offering us to conform. But conformity did not win the Revolutionary War. Conformity did not win women the right to vote. It didn't win in the fight for civil rights, or I should say the ongoing fight for civil rights, right? And that's acknowledging the suffering that the bottom 99% goes through every single day. But right now, we have a leader who is offering to take every single grassroots movement, whether it's Black Lives Matter, the feminist movement, climate change, the deprivatization of prisons, honoring the sovereignty of Native Americans. He is giving all of these positive movements a platform to stand together and say enough is enough. We want political reform and we want to re-engage in our political system as citizens. For far too long, our political reform and we want to re-engage in our political system as citizens. For far too long, our elected officials have been paying attention to their own corporate interests and not that of the people. But it's time for that to change, and we're all here today to demand that. And it's so exciting. It starts by electing Bernie Sanders, right? A man who was an activist before he was a politician and who is still an activist as a politician, who has been fighting for the rights of the 99% his entire political career. But how do we get him into office? Yeah, we got to vote, but we also have to use our manpower, because CNN's not going to do it for us, MSNBC's not going to do it for us, the New York Times is not going to do it for us. So we got to do it, and we are doing it by showing up here. So, if everyone Everyone here can make a commitment to bring 5 new people with you to the polls on June 7th. People who aren't already planning to go vote, people who aren't your friends and your family, 5 new people. And if you can spend this next 2 days making phone calls, phone banking, canvassing, getting people to register to go out and vote. People want to be on the right side of history. They just need the education. So let's stand together and let's get Bernie Sanders in office. Thanks for coming.
Well, I guess I'll say something while we wait. I thought they're going to bring somebody right back up. How is everybody doing? Got the chat going. Thank you all for being there. I'm not playing Pearl Jam. That's the background music here with the place. I'm sure we'll get slammed for that at some point by somebody. Oh. And the overly violent Bernie crowd chants war cries of... No, just kidding. The narrative painted by establishment media as a Bernie love wave starts. Hey, Aviso. How you doing? I'm looking at your guys' comments, guys. How you doing? Kathy. Lourdes, Ducky, Robert, John, Liam. Oh, hey, Liam, over there. Well, let's see. What else do we got going? Did you guys hear that Bill Clinton was he's been earning he did. Apparently it was a while ago, so I guess it doesn't matter. He was on a sex plane. Underage girls on a sex plane. Bill Clinton. If you're a Hillary supporter tuning in for the first time, be proud. Hey, Melissa H. Hey, David Martin. Think it through. Ooh, what are they chanting? I hope, you know what, I think California is going to come through. What I'm worried about with California is the DNC and the kind of corruption that they will pull, because we're going to see it everywhere. We know that for a fact. Apparently Bill's been campaigning. Oh, look at that. ABC News just crashed. Who's got this running? Here's another feed, but these guys have terrible, it's Fox 5, but they don't know that their audio is all messed up. But you can see there's nothing going on anyway. There's nothing going on anyway. Here. Look at that meme while I figure out which feed I'm going to grab here. It's been all over the place. Mercury's in retrograde. Some other crap going on. Are we back? Are we back? We are. That's great. Somebody just got off stage. I love how that works. Well, there. Supremes. That's better. Full moon, Mars and Mercury both in retrograde. Thank you. That was the rest of it. Thank you. And for those of you who don't that's a bunch of crap, and I totally understand. A lot of people do, and a lot of people call that stuff like astrology metaphysics, and metaphysics has been painted a narrative of being woo-woo and BS. I will just say, as a person who has a background in actual physics, and taking a look at quantum mechanics and quantum physics and quantum entanglement, we're already starting to understand that these relationships could definitely be understood possibly in a metaphysical sense, and we really do not understand the relationships between objects that are light years apart that actually do have a connection. And so I would say there is something to it, and that's kind of how science is born, actually, is we know there's something. There's an intuition of something about nature, and we take that and go, how do we explain that? We come up with a hypothesis. A hypothesis is tested, and then that leads to a theory, and then a theory is always something that is tested over and over and over again and is subject to continual peer review. That is the difference between a theory in science and somebody's theory about Thor in the latest movie. Is that a theory in science is something that is subject to continual peer review. And so that's something that mainstream establishment media. It's beautiful camera work there by ABC 10. Thank you, ABC 10. Always fun. I'm not trying to make you care. We'll look at something else. What do we look at here? Give me something. Oh, where'd my meme about the debate go? Here. Did you know we have this going on the 28th? That's happening. Debate in Waterloo, Iowa. Oh, good. The camera's not going to make anybody sick anymore. Let me see what we have going on other channels. Fox 5 has got still got a nice straight shot, but no, their audio. So Fox 5 is delivering a great shot, but their audio actually sounds like being electrocuted. It's not a good thing at all. So we're not using. Oh, they. Hang on. I love seeing your guys' comments about the science stuff. I'm glad there's a bunch of science nerds here. Who's coming up? I love being at these events with you guys. Very much like a rock concert with our rock star, Bernie Sanders.
National City, good evening, everybody. It is important to remember that June 7th is important, and nothing is over yet, and this movement is still going on strong and still. It's too chingon to be stopped. I said it's too chingon to be stopped. You are never too old to have government work for you. because there's a lot of people who are elderly. Listen, this country can still be good to you. It can be good to the young people. It can be good to everyone. Every American deserves a better government. And if you want to get Latinos together, let's just throw a party in a park. This is the United States of America. The United States of America. Where they speak English y también se habla español. Y se habla la idioma de Bernie Sanders. I see the white people looking around. I lost that last one. I said, we speak the language of Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders speaks to us. You know, government is supposed to protect us. It's citizens. Government is supposed to protect us. But somewhere along the way, that stopped. It got lost. Money took over. Listen, money. I got money. It's not everything. But I want you to have money. I want you to have an education. I want you to be safe. I want the police to leave us alone. Just pull us over to say hi sometimes. Hey, how's it going? And as I look out on all these faces, this is what America looks like. It is diverse. Look at all. Let all these cameras hear you. Let all these cameras hear you. Native American, African American, Mexican American, elderly Americans. You gotta say it louder because they're old. Elderly Americans. Burn. You can go ahead. We'll do it at the end. We'll do it at the end. Bernie Sanders, Colombia, Brazil. I don't know that one. That was from the car wash. I don't know that one. Bernie Sanders has stood up for working class people, for young people, for immigrants, minorities, the sick, the poor, and the veterans. Let's not forget the veterans. They protected this country. We have to protect them now. And Bernie Sanders is the right guy. That's why I'm here. To support Bernie Sanders. I love Bernie Sanders. He's right for this country. We're going to vote for Bernie Sanders. And we're going to win, and we're going to win, and we're going to win, and we're not going to get tired of winning. So we're going to keep winning. I'll show you what winning looks like. Hey. Cochino, watch out, there's kids here. Bernie says that enough is enough, and it really is. Enough is enough. And you know it is. Enough is enough. That's a chant. Let's do that. Enough is enough. 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 Enough is louder. Enough is enough. Or as we say in Spanish, was just one small word, ya. It's time for all of us to come together, to unite. And it's time to elect a leader that believes in us because we believe in him. That's how government works. A leader that will fight like hell for you and for your family and for your kids and for college education and for health care and for safety elect a leader. I see that sign. I like it. It's time to elect a leader that believes in us. I'll tell you, es el tiempo de Bernie Sanders. Es el tiempo de Bernie Sanders. Que viva Bernie Sanders. Que viva Bernie Sanders. Let's not forget the white people. All right, Bernie Sanders. Please welcome Senator Bernie Sanders.
Let me thank George Lopez for that great introduction. Brothers and sisters, I'm running for president so that together we're going to transform this country. I'm running for president because in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, too many people are living in poverty. In the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, not all of the new wealth and income should be going to the top 1%. I'm running for president because together we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just wealthy campaign contributors. This campaign is going to win because we're doing something very unusual in American politics. We are telling the truth. And the truth is that we have an enormous amount of greed in this country from Wall Street and corporate America. People who want it all, and we're here tonight to tell them they ain't gonna get it all. In America today, we say thank you to the veterans who put their lives on the line to defend our country. They put their lives on the line to defend democracy. But you know what? You know what? Right now in this country, as a result of a disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, we are seeing democracy being undermined. Democracy is not a complicated process. It means one person, one vote. It means that all of us, the poor and the working class and the middle class, have the right to shape the future of our country. Democracy does not mean a campaign finance system in which billionaires buy elections. Together, we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. And together, we're going to tell Republican governors all over America, you will not continue to suppress the vote. We want this country to be a vibrant democracy. We want this country to have the largest, the highest voter turnout of any country, not one of the lowest. elected president, what we are going to have is a process in which if you are 18 years of age or older, you are registered to vote and to discuss. This campaign is not just about ending a corrupt campaign finance system. This campaign is about ending a rigged economy. Every American should be ashamed that we have one of the worst levels of income and wealth inequality of any major country on earth. Now, you're not going to hear this much in the corporate media. But today, the top 0.1% now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Today in America, while we have children who are going hungry, while we have veterans who are sleeping out on the streets, the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million people. Today in America, in family after family, mom is working, dad is working, the kids are working, and yet 58% of all new income goes to the top 1%. As George Lopez said, enough is enough. To create an economy that works for all of us, and that means that in America, if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty. And that means that we're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And that living wage is $15 an hour. And my opponent, Secretary Clinton, thinks $12 an hour is enough. No way. No way. We got moms out there who are working 50, 60 hours a week trying to provide for their kids. They need $15 an hour. And when we talk about fair wages, I know that every man here will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. There is no rational reason other than sexism that women today make 79 cents on the dollar. I was in Flint, Michigan a couple of months ago, and what I saw in Flint, Michigan, and what I heard in Flint, Michigan should not be seen in the United States of America in 2016. Children were being poisoned by excessive lead in the water. But let me tell you, it is not just Flint, Michigan, which has an inadequate water system. It is hundreds of communities throughout this country. Communities have problems with obsolete wastewater plants. Our roads and our bridges are in massive disrepair. We used to have the best railroad system in the world, no longer the case, and levees and dams all over America need repair. Don't let anybody tell you that real unemployment in America is 5%. That's official unemployment. Real unemployment is double that, and in communities all over this country, we're seeing unemployment a lot higher than 10%. We need a massive federal jobs program to put our people back to work at decent wages. Think of an America where millions of workers are rebuilding our water systems, our wastewater plants, crumbling schools, bridges, our rail system. We can become more productive and safer, put 13 million people back to work rebuilding our infrastructure. In America today, we have millionaires paying an effective tax rate lower than working people. In America today, we have large multinational corporations making billions of dollars a year in profit, stashing their profits in the Cayman Islands and in other tax havens, and in a given year not paying a nickel in federal taxes. You know what? Together we are going to change that, and the billionaires and corporations are going to start paying their fair share. Over the last 30 years, while we have seen the middle class of this country disappear, while we have seen more and more people living in poverty, while we have seen a grotesque level of income and wealth inequality, we have had a trade policy which has enabled corporations to shut down in California, Vermont, all over this country, and move to cheap labor countries all over the world. Our message to corporate America is, if you want us to buy your products, you better damn well start manufacturing those products in America, not in China. But it is not just a corrupt campaign finance system or a grossly unfair and rigged economy. Now let me say a word about poverty in America, because I think we don't discuss it very, very much. People think that what poverty is about is somebody not being able to afford a flat screen TV or go out to eat or go out to the movies. That's not what poverty is about. What poverty is about, and what I saw at the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, what I saw in McDowell County in West Virginia, are people dying 15 or 20 years younger than they should because of the stress of poverty. In the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, life expectancy for men is lower than in a poor third world country. When people are poor and they don't know how they're going to feed their families, they don't know if they have enough money to put gas in the car to get to work, and if they can't get to work, they're going to lose their job, and if they lose their job, their whole family falls apart. That stress, day after day after day, impacts your very life and your body. Poverty kills people. It's not a question of flat screen TVs or fancy cell phones. It's a question of whether you get to the doctor when you need to get to the doctor. It's a question of whether you can eat food that is halfway healthy. And together we are going to address the fact that in this great country, we got 47 million people living in poverty, and we have by far the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. What a disgrace. What an embarrassment. We have a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, and half of the children in public schools in this country are on free or reduced lunches because their parents are not earning decent income. But it is not only a corrupt campaign finance system and billionaires undermining American democracy that we're going to change. It is not only the extremely grotesque level of income and wealth inequality that we're going to address. It is a broken criminal justice system. I want you all to please think outside of the box, think outside of the status quo, think outside of the way the corporate media wants you to think. And ask yourself a very simple question. How does it happen that in this great country we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? China is 4 times our size. It's a communist authoritarian country that does not tolerate dissent particularly well. And we have more people in jail than China. Disproportionately African American, Latino, Native American. We're going to address that issue by first understanding why we have so many people in jail, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that in communities all over America, in inner cities and in rural America, you have unemployment rates for young people of 30, 40, 50%. What we are going to do together is invest in our young people in jobs and education, not in jails and incarceration. I want this country to have the best educated population on earth, not to be the country that has more people in jail than any other country. I want our young people to have decent jobs or be in school, not rotting in jail cells. And when we talk about reforming a broken criminal justice system, we're also talking about taking a hard look at local police departments all over this country. I was a mayor in Burlington, Vermont for 8 years. I work with the local police department and I work with police officials all over this country. The average cop is honest, hardworking, and has a very, very difficult job. But, like any other public official, if a police officer breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. When we talk about local police departments, we have got to demilitarize many of them. We have got to make local police departments reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. We have got to end corporate ownership of prisons and detention centers. Companies should not be making profits by imprisoning fellow Americans. We have got to develop a police culture which understands that using lethal force, shooting to kill, is the last option, not the first option. We have got to rethink the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. And if you have a police record and you're 19 years of age and you go out looking for a job, that doesn't help you get that job. Now, right now, at the federal level, we have a Federal Controlled Substance Act which lists marijuana as a Schedule I drug alongside of heroin. Together, we are going to take marijuana out of the federal control. States, as you know, and I know California has a ballot item coming up. States have the right to determine whether or not marijuana should be legal. And by the way, if I were here in California and living in California, I would vote for that proposition. But possession of marijuana, at the least, should not be a federal crime. And when we're on the subject of drugs, let me just touch on an issue of huge consequence throughout this country, and that is, in my state, in New England, and all over this country, we have a major crisis with opiate addiction and heroin addiction. Every single day, people are dying from overdosing on opiates or heroin. Now, in my view, the most effective way to address this crisis is to recognize that drug and substance abuse and addiction should be treated as a health issue, not a criminal issue. And what that means is we need a revolution in mental health treatment in America. We need to make mental health treatment available when people need it, not 6 months from now. There are thousands of people today walking the streets of the United States who are suicidal. There are people who are homicidal. We have got to get them the treatment today, not tomorrow. This campaign is listening to young people. And one of the developments of this whole campaign that has gratified me more than anything else is the degree to which young people all over this country are getting involved in the political process. Young people understand that they are the future of America. They understand that if they do not get involved in the political process, other people will be determining and the shaping of their future. And young people are saying, we will shape the future of our country. Extremely proud that I believe in every primary and caucus held throughout this whole election season, we have won the votes, sometimes by very large majorities, of people 45 years of age or younger. And what that tells me, and should tell the leadership of the Democratic Party, we are the future of America. And the ideas and the vision that we are bringing forth of a nation based on social justice, economic justice, racial justice, environmental justice, that is America. Our vision is the future, not Trump's vision of bigotry and dividing us up. And if we stand together and not allow the Trumps of the world to divide us up, there is no doubt in my mind that our vision prevails. This campaign is listening to the American people, not just wealthy campaign contributors. This campaign is listening to the Latino community. Now, my father came to this country from Poland at the age of 17 without a nickel in his pocket. He couldn't speak English. So I know a little bit about the immigrant experience. And I think about the courage of somebody coming into a country, not having any money, not speaking the language. And I understand what it means for 11 million undocumented people in this country today. We have today and every day undocumented workers who are being exploited on the job. They're being cheated by their employers. And the reason for that is if you don't have any legal rights, your employer to do anything he wants to you, to cheat you, take away your wages. And you don't have the capability of fighting back because you don't have any legal rights. And that is why, to my mind, we must pass comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. Today, we have people who are living in the shadows. We have kids who go to school and worry whether their mom or dad will be home when they get back. We have a situation where families are being divided. Our vision of immigration reform is to unite families, not divide families. Together, we are going to end current deportation policies. And if Congress does not do its job in passing comprehensive immigration reform, we're going to use the executive powers of the presidency to do all that we can. This campaign is listening to the African American community. I have been to Flint, Michigan. I've been to Detroit, Michigan, where their public school system is on the verge of fiscal collapse. I have been to Baltimore, Maryland, where tens of thousands of people are hooked on heroin without any opportunity to get the treatment that they need. And the African American community is asking me, they're saying, Bernie, how come we have trillions of dollars to spend on a war in Iraq that we never should have gotten into? But we supposedly do not have the money to rebuild our inner cities. Well, together, we are going to change our national priorities. We're not going to get entangled in wars that we should never have gotten into in the first place. We're not going to spend billions rebuilding the infrastructure of Afghanistan and Iraq. We're going to invest in America. We're going to rebuild our school system so kids in inner cities have quality education. This campaign is listening to a people whose pain is almost never heard, and that is the Native American community. Everyone here knows they were cheated, and the treaties they negotiated were broken. And everybody here knows that we owe the Native American people a debt that really we can never repay. If you think about the best parts of our culture, you understand how much Native Americans have contributed to that. And maybe the most important lesson that they have taught us, which we must learn from, is that as human beings, we are part of nature. We must coexist with nature. And if we destroy nature, we are destroying ourselves. And yet, as I travel this country, I find that on Native American reservations, horrific. I find the schools failing the children and health care totally inadequate. If elected president, together, we will fundamentally change our relationship to the Native American people. I am a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment. I have talked to scientists all over our country and all over the world. The scientific community, virtually unanimously, is telling us climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity, and climate change is already causing devastating problems in California, this country, and around the world. And this is what the scientific community is also telling us, is that we have a small window of opportunity to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And if we do not move boldly and aggressively, the very difficult situation today will become much, much worse. We are looking at the possibility of this planet Earth being 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer by the end of this century. And what that means is more drought. You've had enough drought already. More drought, more floods, more extreme weather disturbances, more acidification of the ocean, more rising sea levels. And what it also means is more international conflict as people fight over limited natural resources like water and land that can grow their crops. And that is why, in a very loud voice, we are telling the fossil fuel industry that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. I have, I'm proud to tell you, introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation in the history of the U.S. Senate. And that legislation calls for a tax on carbon. And I call upon Secretary Clinton to join me in telling the fossil fuel industry they're not going to continue to destroy this planet. Support a tax on carbon. About asking the American people to think outside of the box, outside of the status quo, to ask the hard questions that you don't see on TV. And one of those questions is, why does it happen that in America we are the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people? So let me be as clear as I can be. I believe that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. It is not acceptable to me that 29 million people have no health insurance, and many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and copayments. It is not acceptable to me that every one of us gets ripped off every day by the pharmaceutical industry that charges us the highest prices in the world. There are people in this country who go to the doctor, 1 out of 5 Americans. They go to the doctor, they get a prescription, they can't afford to fill that prescription. There are senior citizens in California and Vermont who are cutting their pills in half because they don't have the money to buy the medicine. So I say to the pharmaceutical industry, your greed is going to end. People in this country are not going to get sicker than they should. They're not going to die because you are charging them outrageously high prices. And by the way, there's going to be an item on your ballot proposition in November calling for significant reductions in the cost of prescription drugs. I think that's a great idea for all of us. Bottom line is that in America, in my view, we have got to join every other major country on earth, and that is guarantee health care to all people through a Medicare for all single-payer program. All of you know that we are living in a competitive global economy. We need the best educated workforce in the world. It is absolutely nuts that hundreds of thousands of bright young people in this country do not go to college for one reason. Their families do not have the financial resources. It is equally crazy that millions of people leave school deeply in debt. How many people here have student debt? Incredible. Incredible. And that's your part. Don't feel alone about this. Millions of people are struggling with student debt, sometimes paying that off for decades. We should, in this country, be encouraging people to get all the education they can. We should not be punishing people with outrageous levels of student debt. And that is why I believe two things. Number one, in the year 2016, when we talk about public education, it is not good enough to talk about first grade through 12th grade. Today, we must be talking about public education to include making public colleges and universities tuition free. Does anybody here think that making public colleges and universities tuition-free is a radical idea? It is not a radical idea. It is a commonsensical idea. It exists already in Germany. It exists in Scandinavia. And you know what? This will surprise some of you, but 50 years ago, it virtually existed here in California. You had the great University of California virtually tuition free. If we could provide tuition-free education in California 50 years ago, we damn well can do it today. And the other thing that we have got to address is this issue of student debt, of people paying off loans at 6, 8, 10% interest rates. Together, what we are going to do is allow every person with student debt to refinance their loans at the lowest interest rate they can find. Now, my opponents tell me, well, Bernie, you know, you're Santa Claus, you're a nice guy. You're giving away free tuition, you're going to lower student debt. What a nice guy you are. How are you going to pay for it? Let me tell you exactly how I'm going to pay for it. In the last 25 years, there has been a massive shift, redistribution of wealth in this country from the middle class to the top 0.1%. 8 years ago, against my vote, the Congress bailed out Wall Street. I believe that now is the time to impose a tax on Wall Street speculation. And that tax alone will more than pay for free tuition at public colleges and universities and a significant reduction of student debt. Wall Street does not like that idea. And I say to Wall Street, your greed, your illegal behavior has done incalculable harm to the working families in this country. And whether you like it or not, you are going to start paying your fair share of tax. I hear a lot. Let me tell you something that no other candidate for president will tell you, and that is that no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. And the reason for that, and I'm just being honest with you, the reason for that is that the power of Wall Street, which has endless supplies of money, and I mean endless supplies of money, the power of corporate America, which can shut down factories today and move to China, the power of the corporate media, which will tell you everything that you don't need to know, but very little about what you need to know. The power of billionaire campaign contributions. These guys are very powerful, and they want it all. And the only way, in my view, that we can make the kinds of transformative changes that we need as a nation is when millions of people stand up and help create a government which works for all of us, not just the 1%. Now, everybody here knows a very profound lesson of American history, and that is that real change never takes place from the top on down. It is always from the bottom on up. A 100 years ago, workers in this country were working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Children were working in factories and losing their fingers and their hands in terrible machinery. Kids were working on farms and on plantations. But working people came together and they said, you know what? We are human beings. We are not beasts of burden. We are entitled to dignity on the job. We're going to form unions. And workers came together in their unions and took on large corporations, and they helped create the middle class of this country. 150 years ago, amidst the abomination of slavery in this country, African Americans and their allies looked at the ugliness and the suffering that was going on, and they said, our vision of America is that someday we will become a nation that ends racism and segregation and bigotry. We do not know or ever will know the number of people who died in that struggle, who were beaten, who went to jail, or who were lynched. But we do know that over the years, millions of people stood up and fought back to end racism in America. The children do not know this, but less than 100 years ago in America, women did not have the right to vote, could not get the education or the jobs they wanted. Women were told by the establishment and by the culture of the time that their function in life was to stay home and have babies. But women stood up and they fought back. Women went on hunger strikes. They went to jail and they sometimes died. But they said loudly and clearly that in America, women will not be second-class citizens. If we were here 10 years ago, no time at all, somebody would have jumped up and said, you know, Bernie, I think that by the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in every state in this country. If somebody said that, the person next to her would have said, you're crazy. It can't happen. There's too much homophobia. There's too much hatred in this country. It can't happen. But the gay community and their straight allies stood up and fought back. And they said something very profound. They said that in America, people should have the right to love whoever they wanted, regardless of their gender. If we were here 5 years ago, somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, there's $7.25 minimum wage. It's a starvation wage. We got to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. The person next to him would have said, $15 an hour? You are nuts. You are crazy. You are thinking too big. You want to double, more than double the minimum wage? Nuts. Can't be done. Maybe $10 an hour, maybe 11, but 15, too high. But what happened? What happened is workers in the fast food industry went out on strike. And they explained to the American people, you know what? We can't live on $7.25 an hour. And then interesting things started to happen. In Seattle, Washington, they raised the minimum wage $15. In Los Angeles and San Francisco, $15. In California and New York, $15 an hour. Here is my point. What the establishment wants you to believe is that we cannot achieve real change in America. They want us to believe that we are powerless and that the best that we can get is small, incremental changes. I have been all over this country, from California to Maine, and this is what I am seeing. I am seeing Americans, working class people, low-income people, middle-class people, looking around them, and they're saying, what is going on in this country? Why is it that I am working longer hours for lower wages, and almost all new income and wealth is going to the top 1%? Not acceptable! And they're looking around, and they're seeing women making 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. Not acceptable! And they are seeing the infrastructure of this country collapsing right in front of their eyes. Not acceptable! And they are seeing our country maintain a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections, and they're saying, not acceptable. And they're looking around and they say, how does it happen that every other country provides guaranteed, paid family and medical leave to its people except America? Not acceptable. And why is it that we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? And why is it that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people? And why is it that our young people are leaving school $30,000 or $50,000 in debt? And why are we not more aggressive in taking on the fossil fuel industry and combating climate change? And that's what people all over this country are beginning to understand. And what they are also understanding is that when we stand together, we can create a government that represents you and all of us, and not just the people outside. And the American people also understand that Donald Trump cannot and will not ever become president of the United States. And it's not just that Trump, a billionaire, or at least he tells us he's a billionaire, probably as broke as everybody else is, but he doesn't often tell the truth. But in any case, he wants to give hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to his fellow billionaire friends. This is a guy who changes his mind on every issue. What he says on Monday is negated on Tuesday, changed again on Wednesday. This is a guy who recklessly talks about using nuclear weapons. Our job is to rid this planet of nuclear weapons, not talk about using them. I think the American people understand that we will not and cannot elect a president who insults Mexicans and Latinos, who insults Muslims and women, who insults African Americans. I hope you all remember that before he was a candidate for president, Trump was one of the leaders of the so-called birther movement. What that movement was about was trying to undermine the legitimacy of the first African American president in our history. Trump will not be elected president because the American people understand that our strength as a people is in our diversity. My guess is if we look at where every person here comes from, where if we looked at where what's going on, medical problem? Okay, can we get a medic over there, please? We need a medic. All right, they're on their way. All right, let's make sure that this room. All right. Let the medics do their job.
Bring out the bird!
I love you, everybody! I love you
Thank you all, pal. Thank you, EMT. It's a funny thing. No, it's not Bernie can, we can. Just as we can stand together and support the EMTs and somebody who has fainted, we can stand together and transform this country. And the reason that Trump will not be elected president is we understand, and this is a very profound point, that our strength is in our diversity. If you were to look around you, my guess is that there are people here tonight who come from well over 100 countries all over the world, from Latin America, from the Philippines, from Europe, from Africa. That's where our people come from. But we come together as one people, and that coming together will always trump those people who are wanting to divide us up. And the other thing that people in America instinctively understand is that we need each other to thrive and do well. Nobody can do it all by himself or herself. That when your family is in trouble, you have a right to ask my family to help you. And when my family is in trouble, you got to be there for us. But when veterans sleep out on the street and children go hungry and elderly people can't afford their prescription drugs, we have got to be there for each other. And that supporting each other, being there for each other, always trumps selfishness. And what the American people also understand is perhaps the most profound point, and that is that it is something taught to us by every religion on earth, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, whatever. And that is that at the end of the day, love always trumps hatred. Brothers and sisters, I want you to think big, not small. I want you to imagine what this country can become if we are prepared to stand up and fight for that vision. On June 7th, there's going to be an enormously important primary here in California. 475 delegates are at stake, more than any other state. If we can win here in California and win big, and I think we can, if we can win in the other 5 states that are coming up on June 7th, and I think we can, we're going to go into the Democratic Convention with an enormous amount of momentum. And that momentum, combined with the fact that every national poll in the last 6 weeks and every state poll has us defeating Donald Trump and defeating him by big numbers. We can win here in California. With your help, we can win this election. What we have found up to now is when the voter turnout is high, we win. Let us, this June 7th, have the highest voter turnout in California history for the Democratic Party. And let this great state, this progressive state, tell the world that California is going to lead us into the political revolution. Thank you all.
I think National City is feeling the burn. That was, well, as always, Bernie Sanders, amazing, passionate, honest, true, all the things that Hillary is not. And, yeah, just watch that for a second. Look at that crowd. Huge. And they all said they loved each other, and that was great. I really want to thank Bad Wolf and Laura and Liam and Sekamara and Alice and Rob and Kara. My gosh, we had a lot of people. Dang. Hey, everybody. Thank you, guys. An amazing fucking team of superheroes. I absolutely agreed. Oh, look at that. They just went to black. You guys don't want to see that. That's terrible. Hi. Hey, look at me. You don't want to see me either. More than 500 of you in there. Awesome. Awesome, Bernie Sanders. We've got more states. Despite what Hillary says, let me see if I can't pull it up. Before you all go, let's just talk about where we're headed next. There's actually other states that get their chance to vote in this democracy. I know Hillary doesn't think so, but that's all right. We've all worked very hard at this. We all get an opportunity to vote. That's kind of the way democracy works, and so we're going to continue. I just want to show everybody, we just had Oregon and Kentucky, where Hillary barely defeated Bernie with a little election fraud, and we had Oregon was good. The final numbers on Oregon, I still don't know what the actual numbers are. I know Bernie did better than they actually reported because they really weren't done counting all the ballots. There was a lot of talk about that and how the numbers were misrepresented, of course. Virgin Islands on June 4th, Puerto Rico on June 5th. And by the way, for the record, so proud of Puerto Rico for just defaulting on those loans. I think Wall Street can pick up that bill. Yeah. Maybe the Clinton Foundation can pick up that bill. We've got New Jersey. Sorry, I skipped California, of course. June 7th is California, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Dakota, North Dakota, District of Columbia. Just a few more places to go before Hillary gets to declare herself the nomination. Really. That's just for the record. That's how this goes, right? That's how this goes. Thank you, guys. Awesome job, everybody. Thank you, Mickey. Yes, for all those. That's wonderful. 630. Wow, I had that number wrong. Hi, all 630 of you. What a great time to be here. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday evening around the world to see the future president of the United States. One way or the other, that's going to happen. There are many ways that it could happen, but hopefully it'll happen with a little political revolution, Hillary getting indicted. That would be cool. I'm loading up Captain Squeegee Farce 500 million official music video. This is very relevant to today, to now, to what's going on in our political spectrum. Had a conversation with these guys the other day. Very, very cool. I'm very excited about working with them. They've got a number of songs that are political tunes. They've got other bands and friends that are also political, that write political songs. And one of the original things we wanted to do with Bernie 2016 TV way on back, or just politicalrevolution.tv, that we weren't able to make happen, was to do a really good concert for Bernie, a political protest concert with a number of different bands. And now I think we're going to be able to pull that off. So I really want to thank Captain Squeegee for working with us and bringing in other bands to do this. We're going to listen to their song Farce 500 Million. And I know that, well, we'll get this link dropped in the chat if it's not in the rundown, but I think it's in the rundown for you guys. So look in there. Peace, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And remember, be relentless. They've lost. And right now they're just scrambling, doing everything they can to paint a narrative that we're violent and then we're, they don't know what to do. They're trying to say we're violent, yet they need to unify the party and court us, and they've got we've got leverage at this point. Bernie Sanders, in a normal campaign, just understand this, everybody. Scott was saying this earlier. Normal campaign, a person would just concede and then say, "Yep, I'm going to lend my hand." That's what Hillary keeps saying. But Hillary didn't build a movement. She conceded and just went to help Barack. Bernie Sanders has built a global movement with us. We built this movement. $212 million raised for this man. Ridiculous amount of money, right? But we did it. We had to do it, and we're only a fraction tapped, right? We are powerful. They know we're powerful. They don't know what to do about it. They're scared. We're winning. Be relentless. Feel the burn. We'll see you tomorrow for the newsroom, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And I know there's a rally. Bye, everybody. Love each other.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
The system is concrete. There isn't room for adaptation or interest in unfolding. No, because we don't want to hear the facts unless they're in our favor. But I heard that the elite will fold in their defeat. The brainwash is discreet. It's weird to think it was so easy to warp our minds and mute our hearts. We know that we remember truth, but lies just have more flavor. Yeah, but once you taste the truth, no, you cannot retreat. From the farce to be reckoned with is a farce, and it must be reckoned with. A farce of a future and past that we put up with, but the farce now, it shall be reckoned with. There's a battle on the earth. And those not fighting are the army, yes, fully loaded with their automatic indifference and their ADD, the entertainment distractions are WMD. There's guns in the church. Oh, Jesus, yeah, he'd be furious. He'd rip your chest and he'd steal the soul in hopes that he could just hand it off to a new body that deserves it and learn that he at least knows what it's worth. It's a farce to be reckoned with. It's a farce, and it must be reckoned with. A farce of a future and past that we put up with, but the farce now, it shall be reckoned with. If you'd like to rule the world with a simple death-by-step procedure, all you'd have to do is birth a war, so when it rages, you can win it most heroically with superior technology, and unite the living with one ideology and one currency. Just put a country on some holy land and bases in the boundaries of a people pre-enraged between the oil and beliefs, so easily justified with holocausts and false flag terroristocrats concealing every holocaust you run and left alone and hope to have. Just use the farce, 500 million, providing the solution of population problems and productions for the earth, and that way the planet could regenerate while oceans rise to the occasion with a more manageable population, both microchipped and weak. Yes, in God we'll trust.